Welcome to Fueling Your Legacy, hosted by Samuel Knickerbocker. Each week, we expose the faulty foundational mindsets of the past and rebuild a new, stronger foundation essential in creating your legacy. We've got a lot of work to do, so let's get started. Welcome back to Fueling Your Legacy. And today I actually am going to be talking about something that's been really important to me that I kind of was okay at, but fell off the bandwagon. And that is journaling. Okay. Journaling for me is one of my favorite forms of meditation. It helps me get my thoughts out and processed clearly. I was listening to a podcast just this morning, and it was talking about how visualizing something is important because it forces your mind to get clear about what you want. And I feel the same way about journaling. Journaling or writing, some type of meditation where you're actually writing things out, it forces you not to have these vague thoughts, but actually put your thoughts into a very specific process and outcome. And so it brings clarity to what you're actually thinking. And sometimes you'll write down something and you'll experience the fact that that's not really how you feel. So then you end up rewriting it and rewriting it and rewriting it. When I was writing down my purpose of how I wanted to show up in the world and what I wanted to accomplish, this was definitely one of the things that I had to go through. I wrote down that purpose over 25 different times to make sure that I was really able to express the full feeling of what I wanted to accomplish and how I wanted to help people. And what's interesting is that each of those 25, many of them were different. It was like, this is kind of how I feel. No, this is what I feel. No, this is what I feel. And then by the end of it, I was able to combine all of the 25, take words and feelings from each of the 25 definitions and create one incredible definition of what I want to accomplish. And that is to empower families with the financial confidence to create a meaningful legacy to help them and the world with what their passion is. And as I became better at clarifying things, that's what journaling has helped me accomplish on a grander scale in my life when I'm talking about my family situations, my fitness situations, my health situations, sometimes my religious situations. Doesn't matter what it is, I'm focused on getting clarity, and journaling helps me accomplish that. I mentioned last week in a podcast that when it comes to journaling, I was really good up until we had our first child, and then I kind of, like I say, fell off the bandwagon and stopped journaling as much. But what kind of has got me back into journaling over the last few months is the desire to really be able to write a book. And when I started thinking about writing a book and writing down my legacy, leaving something for those who are going to come after me, I thought, what is the best way to do that? Because when I think of writing a whole book, it's super overwhelming. But when I think of how many books I've written so far, albeit a lot of it's probably just throwaway information, but my journals, I've got 6 or 7 journals that are about an inch thick, 8 by 11 sheet of paper full of information, stories from my childhood, stories from my past. I've already written a lot of this stuff down. Now I just have to transpose it into something that makes sense in a chronological order and can go forward with passion. But if you ask John C. Maxwell, a very accomplished author and writer, he has published multiple books. And for him, his secret is he wakes up and he writes every morning, just 10, 15 minutes, he writes. Maybe it's just one page, but even if you just wrote one page over 365 days, you would have a 365 page book if all you wrote was one page a day. So a lot of us think, man, that's so hard for me to accomplish. If you break it down into smaller things, it's not going to be as hard to accomplish. So this week, we're focusing on writing down who you are, what you want your legacy to be, and documenting your way through your legacy. One of the coolest things that I like when I read a book is to hear the backstory. If I go listen to a speaker, I want to hear their backstory. I want to hear where they came from, not just where they are, not just all of their success. I want to hear where they came from, what created that person, what gave them the mental fortitude, the physical fortitude, the emotional fortitude, what gave them these abilities to actually create what they're doing. I don't believe in overnight successes. I believe in successes that happen overnight, but have been years in the making, sometimes decades in the making. People are just trying and trying and trying and trying and trying. They keep getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And then eventually they do have this massive breakthrough where they are able to transform their lives into something that's incredible. But most people, they're not going out and accomplishing this great feat in one day. They're it's compound interest or compound efforts that is creating this massive, massive result. And so that's where I would say, if you have ever wanted to write a book, then think of, what if I were to just write half a page, a paragraph, whatever it is, write one thing a day that's important to you. Maybe by the end of a year, you have enough to pull scraps of that. Maybe you only have a 100-page book out of 365 pages of content. But I know that that's possible. And I also know that if you're working with intention, and when you are writing, you're working towards a goal, you have an idea of what you want this end result to be in a year from now, then you're going to be able to get there. That's how I wrote my first ebook, was one day at a time. I made posts, I just giving out content. And then once I had this content, then I went back, found the content that I wanted to put in my book, and edited it, made it look and read a little bit better, made it more concise, added a few stories. But ultimately, my book was written one day at a time. And then I compiled it and created a more meaningful book, which is titled The Nine Pillars to Build a Meaningful Legacy. And I believe that in that book, everybody can read it and understand, hey, these are why it's important for me to build a meaningful legacy. This is what's important from an emotional, spiritual, mental standpoint for me to get clear on, so that I can go build a meaningful legacy. I'm huge into foundations. I want to help people create a financial foundation that they can also build a meaningful legacy on. So many people, they have these grand dreams, and then they have no idea how to financially put that into practice. And so that's where I come in. I help people with their grand dreams, help them understand the financial foundation mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, even with your health and your food. How do you program your body and your mind to be successful and have a solid foundation, so that once you start building, your building doesn't fall, your legacy doesn't fall. It has a solid foundation that can support your legacy. So that is what I wanted to share today. This week, we have an awesome, awesome author that is going to be on Friday. Her name is Melanie Vota. If you haven't been able to go and follow her on Instagram, I strongly recommend that. And then once again, anytime you like, comment, or review on this podcast, post it to social media, tag me in it, and I will be able to give you a shout out on the next podcast when it airs. So keep looking forward to that. We do have one podcast. If you go back in the podcast, there is one by Stephanie Eiliff. We are at 95 listens. At 100 listens, I give away a free book. At 200 listens, she gives away a free book. So it's critical that you guys are posting on social media that you listen to it, so that I know who the 100th person is. If nobody's posting, then we're going to go way past 100, and I'm never going to know who actually listened to that podcast. So we're close. And if you want a free book, then you'll go get that. So anyways, the main purpose is start small. Don't get overwhelmed by the overall picture. Start small, but have a purpose when you're writing, when you are journaling, when you are meditating, when you're writing these things down. Have a purpose in what you're trying to accomplish. And in the end, you'll be able to do something you didn't ever think was possible, or you were overwhelmed with it initially. You'll be able to accomplish something that's great. So go forth, and catch you next time on Fueling Your Legacy. Thanks for joining us today. If what you heard resonated with you, please like, comment, and share on social media. Tag me so I can give you a shout out on the next episode. And thanks to all those who have left a review. It helps spread the message of what it really takes to build a legacy that lasts. Catch you next time on Fueling Your Legacy.